The complete work of Swami Vivekananda, Video 25. Patanjali's Yoga Aphorisms, Chapter 1. Concentration. Its spiritual uses. Ath Yoganusasanam. Now concentration is explained. Yoga Sachitta Vritti Nirodh. Yoga is restraining the mind of chitta from taking various forms, vrittis. A good deal of explanation is necessary here. We have to understand what chitta is and what the vrittis are. I have eyes. Eyes do not see. Take away the brain center which is in the head. The eyes will still be there, the retina complete, as also the picture of objects on them, and yet the eyes will not see. So the eyes are only a secondary instrument, not the organ of vision. The organ of vision is in a nerve center of the brain. The two eyes will not be sufficient. Sometimes a man is asleep with his eyes open. The light is there and the picture is there, but the third thing is necessary. The mind must be joined to the organ. The eye is the external instrument. We need also the brain center and the agency of the mind. Carriages roll down a street and you do not hear them. Why? Because your mind has not attached itself to the organ of hearing. First, there is the instrument, then there is the organ, and third, the mind attached to these two. The mind takes the impression farther in and presents it to the determinative faculty, buddhi, which reacts. Along with this reaction flashes the idea of egoism. Then the mixture of action and reaction is presented to the Purusha, the real soul, who perceives an object in this mixture. The organ, indriyas, together with the mind, means the determinative faculty, buddhi, and egoism, ahamkar, form the group called the antkarna, the internal instrument. They are but various processes in the mind stuff called chitta. The waves of thought in the chitta are called vrittis, literally whirlpool. What is thought? Thought is a force as is gravitation or repulsion. From the infinite storehouse of force in nature, the instrument called chitta takes hold of some, absorbs it and sends it out as thought. Force is supplied to us through food, and out of that food the body obtains the power of motion, etc. Others, the finer forces, it throws out in what we call thought. So we see that the mind is not intelligent, yet it appears to be intelligent. Why? Because the intelligent soul is behind it. You are the only one. You are the only sentient being. Mind is only the instrument through which you catch the external world. Take this book. As a book, it doesn't exist outside. What exists outside is unknown and unknowable. The unknowable furnishes the suggestion that gives a blow to the mind, and the mind gives out the reaction in the form of a book. In the same manner as when a stone is thrown into the water is thrown against it in the form of waves. The real universe is the occasion of the reaction of the mind. A book form or an elephant form or a man form is not outside. All that we know is our mental reaction from the outer suggestion. Matter is the permanent possibility of sensations, said John Stuart Mill. It is only the suggestion that is outside. Take an oyster for example. You know how pearls are made. A parasite gets inside the shell and causes irritation, and the oyster throws a sort of enameling round it, and this makes the pearl. The universe of experience is our own, so to say, and the real universe is the parasite serving as nucleus. The ordinary man will never understand it because when he tries to do so, he throws out an enamel and sees only his own enamel. Now we understand what is meant by these vrittis. The real man is behind the mind. The mind is the instrument, his hands. It is his intelligence that is percolating through the mind. It is only when you stand behind the mind that it becomes intelligent. When man gives it up, it falls to pieces and is nothing. Thus, you understand what is meant by chitta. It is the mind stuff, and vrittis are the waves and ripples rising in it when external cause impinge on it. These vrittis are our universe. The bottom of a lake we cannot see because its surface is covered with ripples. It is only possible for us to catch a glimpse of the bottom when the ripples have subsided and the water is calm. If the water is muddy or is agitated all the time, the bottom will not be seen. If it is clear and there are no waves, we shall see the bottom. The bottom of the lake is our own true self. The lake is the chitta and the waves the vrittis. Again, the mind is in three states, one of which is darkness called tamas, found in brutes and idiots. It only acts to injure. No other idea comes into that state of mind. Then there is the active state of mind, rajas, whose chief motives are power and enjoyment. I'll be powerful and rule others. Then there is the state called sattva, serenity, calmness, in which the waves cease and the water of the mind lake becomes clear. It is not inactive, but rather intensely active. It is the greatest manifestation of power to be calm. It is easy to be active. Let the reins go, and the horses will run away with you. Anyone can do that, but he who can stop the plunging horses is the strong man, which requires the greater strength, letting go or restraining. The calm man is not the man who is dull. You must not mistake sattva for dullness or laziness. The calm man is the one who has control over the mind waves. Activity is the manifestation of inferior strength, calmness of the superior. The chitta is always trying to get back to its natural pure state, but the organs draw it out. To restrain it, to check this outward tendency, and to start it on the return journey to the essence of intelligence is the first step in yoga, because only in this way can the chitta get into its proper course. Although the chitta is in every animal, from the lowest to the highest, it is only in the human form that we find it as the intellect. Until the mind stuff can take the form of intellect, it is not possible for it to return through all these steps and liberate the soul. Immediate salvation is impossible for the cow or the dog, although they have mind, because their chitta cannot as yet take that form which we call intellect. The chitta manifests itself in the following forms: scattering, darkening, gathering, one-pointed, and concentrated. The scattering form is activity. Its tendency is to manifest in the form of pleasure or of pain. The darkening form is dullness, which tends to injury. The commentator says the third form is natural to the devas, the angels, and the first and second to the demons. The gathering form is when it struggles to center itself. The one-pointed form is when it tries to concentrate, and the concentrated form is what brings us to samadhi. At that time, the time of concentration, the Sriya Purusha rests in his own unmodified state. As soon as the waves have stopped and the lake has become quiet, we see its bottom. So with the mind, when it is calm, we see what our own nature is. We do not mix ourselves, but remain our own selves. At other times, other than that of concentration, the seer is identified with the modifications. For no one blames me. This produces a modification, vritti in my mind, and I identify myself with it, and the result is misery. There are 5 classes of modifications, some painful, others not painful. Pramar, Vipraya, Vikalp, Nidra, Smriti. These are right knowledge, indiscrimination, verbal delusion, sleep, and memory. Direct perception, inference, and competent evidence are proofs. When two of our perceptions do not contradict each other, we call it proof. I hear something, and if it contradicts something already perceived, I begin to fight it out and do not believe it. There are also three kinds of proof. Pratyaksha, direct perception. Whatever we see and feel is proof. If there has been nothing to delude the senses, I see the world, that is sufficient proof that it exists. Secondly, Anumana. Inference, you see a sign, and from the sign you come to the thing signified. Thirdly, Aptavakya. The direct evidence of the yogis, of those who have seen the truth. We are all of us struggling towards knowledge. But you and I have to struggle hard and come to knowledge through a long, tedious process of reasoning. But the yogi, the pure one, has gone beyond all this. Before his mind, the past, the present, and the future are alike. One book for him to read. He doesn't require to go through the tedious processes. For knowledge, we have to. His words are proof because he sees knowledge in himself. These, for instance, are the authors of the sacred scriptures. Therefore, the scriptures are proof. If any such persons are living now, their words will be proof. Other philosophers go into long discussion about Aptavakya, and they say, what is the proof of their words? The proof is their direct perception, because whatever I see is proof and whatever you see is proof. If it doesn't contradict any past knowledge, there is knowledge beyond the senses, and whenever it doesn't contradict reason and past human experience, the knowledge is proof. Any madman may come into this room and say he sees angels around him. That would not be proof. In the first place, it must be true knowledge, and secondly, it must not contradict past knowledge, and thirdly, it must depend upon the character of the man who gives it out. I hear it said that the character of the man is not of so much importance as what he may say. We must first hear what he says. This may be true in other things. A man may be wicked and yet make an astronomical discovery, but in religion it is different, because no impure man will ever have the power to reach the truth of religion. Therefore, we have first of all to see that the man who declares himself to be an apta is a perfectly unselfish and holy person. Secondly, that he has reached beyond the senses. And thirdly, that what he says doesn't contradict the past knowledge of humanity. Any new discovery of truth doesn't contradict the past truth, but fits into it. And fourthly, that truth must have a possibility of verification. If a man says, I have seen a vision, and tells me that I have no right to see it, I believe him not. Everyone must have the power to see it for himself. No one who sells his knowledge is an apta. All these conditions must be fulfilled. You must first see that the man is pure and that he has no selfish motive, that he has no thirst for gain or fame. Secondly, he must show he is superconscious. He must give us something that we cannot get from our senses and which is for the benefit of the world. Thirdly, we must see that it doesn't contradict other truth. If it contradicts other scientific truths, reject it at once. Fourthly, the man should never be singular. He should only represent what all men can attain. The three sorts of proof are then direct sense perception, inference, and the words of an apta. I cannot translate this word into English. It is not the word inspired, because inspiration is believed to come from outside, while this knowledge comes from the man himself. The literal meaning is attained. Indiscrimination is false knowledge, not established in real name.